Hi everybody, and welcome to our AP Laser workshop on this wonderful Friday afternoon here. Hope everybody's having a great day. So what we're going to be doing today and what we're going to talk about, we're going to be doing some photographic engraving on some wood. What I have here is I've got some basswood here. This is kind of like some craft wood that I've ordered off of Amazon. Got quite a few chunks for around maybe like $20. This is really great stuff. When I'm engraving wood, I really do like engraving with the basswood. It's a little bit of a softer wood, engraves nicely, gives you a nice dark burn to it. Even the live edge wood basswood that you can typically pick up at like Michael's, any kind of Hobby Lobby place or craft store, is a great material to work with. So what we're going to be doing again is just kind of looking in at trying a few different techniques, kind of going along with our previous videos where we've done the high DPI, high resolution videos. I apologize, I'm a little sleep deprived today, so I'm kind of stumbling over my words. But let's go ahead and take a look at what we're going to be working with here today. So I've got this nice photo here. This is my daughter here, Gentry. I had been asked about doing maybe some low resolution photos. I know a lot of times when we're doing some photos, we tend to go with some really high resolution ones. I'm going to go ahead and minimize this and just kind of pull this up to show you the resolution of this actual photo. So I'm just going to right click on this and come down to Properties and then Details. And so we can see here that it's only a 96 DPI image. Okay there. I did do a little bit of prep ahead of time just to kind of save a little bit of time here. So I'm going to bring up my Corel Photo Paint here. So the only thing I really did to this image is go through and just isolate it from the background. Now I've been asked a couple times, like, when would I want to isolate an image compared to when I would want to engrave like the whole entire photo? And really it's kind of a case-by-case basis on there. If I think that that background is going to bring more to the photo that we're trying to engrave, you know, if it's a beautiful sunset, beach scene, something like that, absolutely would want to kind of keep that along. But we don't want that background to be able to take away from our photo. So when you actually isolate, you're keeping that main focus on that photo. This one here was at my house, you know, on my sad patio. So I've got the car in the background, everything like that. So I don't want any of that stuff to take away from my photo, which is, again, why I've kind of gone through and isolated this. So the first thing we're going to do after our isolation here is I'm going to go ahead and desaturate this. Kind of take it out of the color and just do a, you know, grayscale, black and white. So just come up to Adjust and do that. And then I'm going to come up and I'm actually going to go to my Effects and I'm going to come down to my Sharpen and down to Unsharpen Mask. All right. And what you can see there is it really starts bringing out a lot more detail. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel this. So we see it kind of just flat. But then as soon as we hit that Unsharpen, it brings out all that detail there. Now, especially with wood, I find having that detail or the edges a little bit sharper really helps bring out the photograph. So what we've got here, we've got our percentages and our radius. I'm going to kind of adjust this down a little bit. And you can kind of see as I'm bringing this down, it's getting a little bit softer. I should bring this up a little bit more. There we go. And my radius just a smidge. That looks pretty good there. So I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. The next thing I want to do is I'm going to kind of use my tone curve to lighten this photo up. Now, when you're dealing with wood, especially, like, we want to pay attention to these dark areas. These darker areas are what's going to burn a little bit darker. So especially when you have something in the facial area here, you want to make sure to lighten that up so you're not blowing it out or charring the wood at all. So we're going to come up to Adjust and down to my tone curve here. And what I'm going to do is just kind of bring this up a little bit just to lighten that up a tad. There we go, that looks pretty good. Okay here. And if you need to come into some of these darker areas, like let's say this little watering can, for example, that's still a little bit dark. What I'll oftentimes do is come over here to my effects tool, which is over on the left-hand side toolbar. And it looks like the little Q-tip. And I'm going to come up to the top left and then hit my drop-down arrow. And this is where I can select different aspects here. So I'm just going to do a brightness. And we'll do a large soft brightness. Now when I come in here and I start highlighting it, you can see that it's just lightening that up ever so softly. Now if you find yourself like not lightening up enough or too much, go ahead and undo here real quick. You can always go over it numerous times, or actually here's your intensity here. So if you increase up your intensity, let's say go to a 35, you can really see how much that's brightening that up compared to where I had it, where I just had a little bit of a softness. So I had like a 10, come down here below. And so again, you can see that it's just barely lightening it up. I don't want to go too much with that. Back up a little bit. So I'm going to keep my intensity at about a 10. Now also what you can kind of do, or what I often do, is I'll kind of use this as my shading as well. So like if I'm coming in here to like where the knees are at, I can kind of come through and brighten up the shin area here, and kind of make it where it's a little bit more of a shadow there. That light and that dark, again, is going to have an effect over our overall burn there. So I don't want this to blend in too much. So coming through and again, just kind of lightening up some of these areas here. You can kind of see I'm leaving a little bit there on the edge, just kind of like a little bit of a shaping there. Like so. And I'm going to come in and work on the arm here a little bit as well. And we're going to come up a little bit more in the face here. Those eyes just a little bit. A little bit too much there. That looks a little bit better. All right. So that's looking pretty decent to me there. I said lightened up the face a little bit. I don't want to char it up. Might just do a little bit more here. There we go. We still have some nice shadow detail there. All right. So what I'm going to go ahead and do now is I'm going to go ahead and export this out. So I'm going to go to File, and Export. I'm going to send it out as a PNG file here. And go ahead and hit Export. Save flattened. All right. So now I did set this up originally it is at a 300 DPI. So I'm going to come up here to Image real quick and just show you on my resample on what we have here. So here's our working area doing a 5x7. And again, my resolution set at 300 here. All right. So let's go ahead and minimize this. Now, in our last couple of videos, we've been walking through and showing you how to use Lightburn to go through and dither the image. I had a couple people reach out and ask me, like, is that the only way that you can do that? Absolutely not. So I do want to kind of show the same kind of process using Photograve this time around. So I'm going to go ahead and open up my Photograve. And we're going to just, if you're new to Photograve, you're just getting used to it, Photograve is actually a very intuitive, very simple program to work with. We're just going to kind of work left to right here. So I'm going to go ahead and open up my image. And my PNG file here. All right, I'm going to go ahead and select my material, which we're going to be using some basswood. And go ahead and hit OK. All right, and the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and click on my Show Progress here. And then I'm going to come over here and I want to match my machine DPI to my image DPI. So I'm going to go ahead and change that from 200 to 300. All right, we'll kind of zoom in to see what we have going on here. So looking at this, it looks like it's pretty decent. We got some good detail out of here. Now, what I do want to do is I'm going to come over here to my enhanced edges, and I think we got it set to a 12, which is kind of the default for this material. And I'm actually going to reduce that down a little bit, down to maybe an 8. There we go. And we're seeing it being a little bit softer on the edges there. Nothing too crazy though. Should we come down? Let's check out to see what a 5 looks like. That's a little bit softer. I kind of want to split the difference, maybe do a 6. And basically what I'm doing is you can kind of see where it's highlighting certain edges around here. Now, I had done the unsharpened mask, which has really brought out a lot of detail on there. So that's why I'm kind of going back in here. If I go too high with the extent, I'm going to have really sharp, high edges, but I could lose some of that detail in there. Back to our original one here. And we're looking pretty good. So I'm not going to mess around too much with it. I see good detail like in our can here, the dress, especially down here in the boots. You see little designs in there. So we're going to go ahead and final process this. We'll go ahead and save our image. We want it to be an engraved. Okay. We're going to send it out. We can see our file name has Gentry along with E and GR, letting us know that's our engravable one. I don't need to switch my save as type here. It's going to go ahead and send this out as a BMP file for me already. So we'll go ahead and hit save. All right. So next thing we're going to do is go ahead and open up our RDWorks program. And we're going to come up to File and Import on our desktop here and find our engravable image. And there we go. All right. Now, when you're working with wood, it's speed and power is really going to come into play here. Okay. If we go too light with our engraving, we're really not going to have that wow factor. It's not going to stand out at all. If we go too high a power, we're just going to wash out all that detail, especially going with that high DPI. So I'm actually running this a little bit higher than I typically would with, like, say, slate or granite. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to double click in here, and I have these kind of set. I've been testing out a little bit. And so I'm finding like an 18 speed, 20 power with an 18 min is going to give me that nice dark burn, hopefully, with this, without losing too much detail there. Hit OK. Now, these settings may also vary depending on the type of wood that you're using. Okay. Also may vary a little bit with the size of machine. What we're going to run this on, we're going to run this on our 4836 100-watt tube. I'm doing a photo, and so I typically like to use my 1.5" lens with that, just so I can get that really fine dot size and get really good detail. So let's go ahead and send this to our machine here. right. So this will probably take us about 10 minutes to engrave here. Again, I did a little bit of prep work already, so I've got my material in here. I've got it focused in, all ready to rock and roll here. So we're going to jump over, and I'm just going to go ahead and hit start here. And go ahead and turn on my exhaust. All right, so while that's running, if anybody has any questions out there, I'll be more than happy. Just throw them in this chat. I'll be more than happy to try to get through any questions here. All right. All right, so we got a little bit of a debate on here. It's actually a question. I see Frank from Pop's Custom. You know, he's chiming in here. Honestly, like when it comes down to software, what software works best? It's really a user preference. Okay. Me personally, I go back and forth between these programs. There's certain things like I like to do in Corel. There's other things I like to do in Lightburn. The best suggestion I can give you is that these are all tools, okay? A guy doesn't build a house, a carpenter doesn't build a house with just a hammer, okay? He's going to use a variety of tools. The more tools that you have, the better it is. There's certain functions within Lightburn I really enjoy, like the trace features. I've been having a lot of fun playing around with the different photo settings and things like that. Lightburn is a little bit easier to use and to kind of learn. Because it's kind of simplistic. Okay, we don't always have the tools in there for like photographic processing. There's not a lot of editing tools, so we can basically dither it. So if you don't have Corel Photo Paint, you know, you don't want to spend the money on getting that. There are other programs out there like GIMP that I believe is a free program. You can pay to have like the enhanced, get more tools, more functions that will basically do the exact same kind of things where you can isolate an image and things. All right, and again, if anybody's got any questions here, feel free to throw them in our chat here. Now, we've talked about in other videos too about how to sample out, how to test out images. Typically, if I'm working with like slate, granite, I like to use black poster board. It's very inexpensive, gives me a very good simulate to it. For wood and things, what I actually would suggest is maybe use like a file folder. I've actually got one set up over here, kind of a demo. You can see my test run here. We can cycle over to that. Oh. There we go there. So this here is my file folder that I did. Again, I just kind of adjusted my power down so I didn't kind of burn through there. It's a little fuzzy in that photo, but they actually got really great detail out of here. So this is actually what I'm hoping to try to reduplicate and get the same kind of look out of the wood. And we'll do a little bit of a side-by-side comparison with it. Just going to kind of pick in here real quick. Looks like we're doing really well. Now, if you do decide to get this basswood, this construction wood, the stuff that I have is pretty thin stuff. And so actually what I've done is I've got some magnets to kind of hold it down because this stuff will kind of bend and flex. I don't know if you can kind of see, I've got a nice curve there. So kind of getting those magnets to hold this down, and it's thin enough that the magnets is going to go through the wood and clamp down onto the bed there. So far, looks like we're having a pretty good etching. Got Carla asking, so actually our last week video, Carla, actually got canceled. We had a couple employees come down, unfortunately, with some COVID. A couple people got sick, so they decided to go ahead and shut us down last Friday, kind of decontaminate the office, make sure everybody's healthy and safe, and everybody's doing fine now. But we are going to be doing that video next week. If you already signed up for that video or registered for that video, there's no need to re-register. Your name has already been transported over. Carla, hopefully we'll be able to catch you next week with that. And as always, if you guys have any questions over this process, any of our other videos or other processes, feel free to give our tech support a call. You can reach them at 844-364-8211. You're always more than welcome to shoot me an email as well. My email is very simple. It's Jason, Jason, at aplazer.com. That is laser with a Z. Even if there's things that you would like to see, videos being made, materials, any of those kinds of things, please feel free to shoot me an email. I'm always happy to respond and help out if I can. All right, looks like we're getting pretty close to the top there. So far, I think we're going to have a pretty decent image here. Like I said, we're going to do a little bit of side-by-side comparison too once this is finished. Just kind of, like I said, show you how to simulate or test out on this wood. All right. See some pretty good detail there. There we go. I apologize about the focus here. This camera happens to reads movement, so it's kind of focusing on that laser head there, but there we go. Oop, we're kind of losing it. All right, looks like we are all finished up here. So let's take a look and see what we got. All right. So here's our image here. Make it a little bit closer. So I think we got a really good image here. Great detail in the facial features here. The little pattern in the design of the dress came out. Our boots came out really nice there. So let's do a little bit of comparison. So again, you can kind of see, there's certain things that we're going to have to combat with the wood, the overburn, the grain, things like that. But you can see how we are almost spot on as far as our image goes, and for our test sample. And again, these file folders are pretty inexpensive. You can use numerous sides of it. And when I'm testing out, I typically just reduce my power so I'm not burning all the way through that. And then that way too, excuse me, we only have one variable that we need to change. So I know today was kind of a quick one here. And again, if anybody has any questions over this process, please feel free to jump in the chat there. Thank you, Frank. Like I said, wood is a great material to work with. Honestly, again, working with basswood, I find basswood, poplar, those softer types of wood, seem to engrave a little bit better than the harder wood, where you may need to use a little bit more power, where you run the risk of losing detail and things like that. But of course, you know me, I always like to test things out for everybody, try to help you out along, take care of a lot of that extra legwork so you don't have to. So I will definitely look into doing some harder wood and see what we can get figured out for you guys too. Again, I'll go ahead and leave this up just for another couple minutes here. I do appreciate everybody joining us, and again, I do apologize about last week's class getting canceled on us. I know I'm in the midst of planning out some things for September as well, so I've got a lot of good products coming out with you. We're going to be using a lot of stuff out of our web store, so these products will be available to purchase after the class, and kind of walk through on a tutorial as well. So if nobody's got any more questions, oh, thank you, Frank. We'll go ahead and get it wrapped up here. Again, I always appreciate you guys coming. Hopefully you guys enjoy these videos as much as I enjoy making them. I promise next week I'll try to be a little bit more awake here. But I hope you guys have a wonderful Friday. Have an even better weekend. Until next week, we'll see you guys. Bye, everybody.